Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode in the Suffer Well podcast series. And if tonight is your first episode that you're viewing tonight in our series, I wanted to share with you the background of what Suffer Well means. Suffer Well means navigating difficult circumstances and enduring hardships with grace. It means to find purpose behind adversity and challenges. Is viewing challenges as opportunities for growth. The tests, trials, and hardships is actually an invitation for developing resilience, hope for the future, refining your character, surrendering and trusting God in the process. It means to rise when life or the enemy tried its hardest to tear you down. It means not giving up in the process and finding your strength, power, and light. It's about turning your pain into something beautiful. Okay, so I'm getting ready to bring our guest speaker for tonight up on the stage. Hi, Brittany. Can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me? Can you hear me
Okay.
now?
I don't know what happened.
Can you hear me?
Okay, now I can hear you. Sorry about that. I
Oh,
don't
that's
know what
okay.
happened. It's just like have to like come right back in.
Oh,
Okay.
that's all right. That's one thing
All
about
right.
technology. It's has a mind of its own.
I know,
So,
right?
welcome, Brittany. I'm so glad you're here. And I
Thanks for
know
having
based
me.
on your bio that you are a singer, a sound healer, and you're the founder of the song Remedy. You
Yes.
have over 25 years of musical experience, which you weave singing bowls, turning forks, voice, and affirmations into transformative sound bath that helps participants find balance, release stress, and reconnect with themselves.
Yes.
Brittany's work is rooted in ancestral wisdom, nervous system regulation, and the belief that sound can alchemize pain into healing and joy. Now, I am over on the East Coast in Baltimore, Maryland, and Brittany is in the Bay Area, California. And I wanted to reach out to women, Black women, and Brown women that I have met, even if it was brief, who have gone through a transition in their lives. And she's here tonight to talk about her experience of healing and transformation. And I met her at an open mic in DC. This was probably back in 2014, 2015. So this was years ago.
Hmm.
And let me tell you, Brittany has a voice. She has such a beautiful voice. And I reached out to her a few months ago to ask her to be a guest speaker. And I'm so glad that she's here tonight. So welcome, Brittany.
Thank you.
So, Brittany, um, tell us tell us about your journey of becoming a sound healer. Explain what that title and role means to you and for
Hmm.
others.
Hmm. So I have been a singer my entire life. It's the earliest memory that I have is me wanting to be a singer. So I grew up singing in church all my life and just was always really involved in whatever art scene. Wherever I lived, I was always involved in the art scene. And actually experiencing grief, really close and traumatic grief for the first time is what catapulted me into sound healing. So I lost my brother in 2019, October um, 17th in 2019. And I really didn't know how to grieve properly. And so I wanted to create space for folks to, for one, for me to learn and to get more knowledge on how other people grieve, and then also to help myself open up and be vulnerable. in different spaces. So I created a space where people could come. We would talk about different things that we were experiencing and challenges that we were facing, and then we would alchemize the challenges that we were facing and turn that around and use affirmations to manifest what it is that we did want. And so I would turn those affirmations into improvised songs, into music. And then what that turned into me also being curious about singing bowls. So I saw that singing bowls was something that was like on the rise and becoming more popular. And I was like, I wonder what this would sound like if someone actually sung with it.
Mm.
Because I had saw, like people using singing bowls, but I never saw people actually sing with a singing bowl. And so I bought my first singing bowl, and then it pretty much was history from there. So I bought the first one, and the way that it felt when I actually used my voice with it, it actually creates like these different multi-tones, overtones. And
Mm.
so I've been using singing bowls ever since.
Mm. And thank you so much for sharing. And um, I'm hearing you say that you didn't know how to grieve and you want to create a safe space for other people to grieve and create a community around that. And there
Mhm.
is healing that comes within community. So when you started opening up about your journey when it comes to grief and loss, did you find other people being able to be vulnerable and open up with the community that you created?
Yeah, I feel like when people are in community and they hear that other people are going through something similar, it makes it easier for you to talk. And then you realize like, oh, I'm not alone. And then it encourages folks to kind of say like, oh, I've experienced something like that too. So it really works.
Yes, it definitely does work. And I've been on a healing journey for 12 years now, since 2014. And
Mhm.
I felt like I was alone in the middle, and especially when you're in the beginning and middle stages, it's like
Mhm.
it's messy, it's chaotic. You don't have anybody, at least for me, I didn't have anybody around me to, talk to. And it
Mhm.
wasn't until the pandemic when I started opening up a little bit and being a little bit more public about it that people started sharing with me their stories, because
Mhm.
it is
Mhm.
hard to talk about, things that you're going through, the challenges, and like, how is it going to be received from other people?
Mhm.
And I think this topic was dear to my heart because it's hard to talk about, the challenges. But one
Mhm.
thing that I want the viewers to understand is like, yes, we go through our challenges, but something beautiful in the midst of it. We don't see it at that moment, the hardships, but something is being created
Mhm.
due to the hardships.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
really knowing how to turn that pain into power and finding our strengths within it to help heal ourselves and to help heal others.
Yeah.
So I've never been to California. That is on my bucket
Mhm.
list to go visit California one day. So I only
Mhm.
know the East Coast, right?
Mhm.
And right now it is well, not right now, but we just came out of a snowstorm, a winter
Mhm.
storm, ice
Mhm.
storm, and it's nothing but like a ice skating rink outside. It's not the safest to walk and even drive in.
Mhm.
So I founded a wellness business, a LLC called Blooming Within, because
Mhm.
I've been seeing that lately within the last year, but I started 2 years ago. And blooming within for me means that no matter what season of life you're in, you can celebrate life, not just when you are experiencing joy, even in hardships, you can celebrate life. And in the winter time, I don't know if you can relate to it, but like I feel a lot of like my mood shifts a lot, like
Mhm.
I feel dark, I feel alone. But when
Mhm.
I went onto your website, I noticed that you offer a wellness guide about
Mhm.
how to find peace in the
Mhm.
winter. So can you
Mhm.
explain to us like what is your wellness guide about, and
Mhm.
also any journal prompts that you have your products? What is it about?
Yeah, so it's when winter hits different, and it's a wellness guide that pretty much just walks through all the different tools in my little bag that I use to help me through the winter time. And that came about because of, for one, I experienced, like I said, my most deepest grief during the winter time, and then oftentimes because we have like the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, the people that celebrate, and maybe you may have a loved one that's no longer here, and then it just reminds people and makes people sad, as well as the fact that it's cold. So not only is it cold, but it's darker, it gets darker
Mhm.
faster. So you don't have the sun out that is giving you all these different hormones that help you to be happy. And then also, you may be achy in your body because it's cold. So my guide is really, it's not only coming from like a wellness point of view, but I also give a lot of tips and tricks on wellness, on like how to keep your body well, because
Mhm.
um, wintertime is also a season for getting really sick. So
Mhm.
oftentimes people are sick back to back to back to back. So if you can combat that, that's already one thing that kind of helps with your emotional wellness. So I have like different tips and tricks on how to stay well, different herbs that I use, like garlic, echinacea, making sure that I incorporate foods like ginger in my diet and garlic and onions, and then also continuing to move my body throughout the winter season and making sure that I'm working out. Working out is something that is instantly a mood regulator and helps to
Mhm.
bring your levels back up. And then really, I also wanted to kind of reframe what the winter is for a lot of people, because I feel like we have this capitalistic push to not only spend a lot of money, but then you have New Year's right around the corner. So New Year's is like, oh, you gotta like make all these resolutions, you gotta do all this stuff, and then like even for a lot of artists, sometimes we feel like this push to drop music at the top of the year,
Mhm.
or like you just have to completely become a new person, when it's actually not natural, because you're still in a winter season, you're still in a season where you should be hibernating, you should be um, you know being in a space where you're still creating, and you're protecting your dreams and your gifts, and you're developing them. And then spring is actually the season where you want to like pop out and be
Mhm.
like, hey, here I am, I'm new, this is what I have to offer, these are the things that I'm changing about myself. Or even like your own birthday, as far as your personal new year. So
Yeah.
just like more of having a reframe of what that season is, and like releasing some of the pressure that this society puts on us to like do, versus like be just relax, just allow yourself to rest, to get a lot of rest. Wintertime is a great time to allow your body to rest, and
Mhm.
that is one of the main things that will prevent you from being sick. And so yeah, so that is it's a lot, it's a little bit of everything, but it's literally everything that I think about and that I feel that has helped with my like seasonal depression and just feeling down during the winter months.
Mhm. And I loved how you said, reframing the way people view winter, because winter is dark. Winter is, cold. But even if it's cold physically on the outside, how can we bring that, spring like feeling to in the inside, and just like moving, around, that helps also. So I really love that you're offering different tools to help people specifically around the peacetime. I mean,
Yeah.
excuse me, around the winter time, to
Hmm.
find that peace and just return and to find that rest,
Yeah.
releasing that pressure. Yes, I could relate to that. Releasing the
Hmm.
pressure that society puts on us, especially like you said, out of the holiday, boom, it's like New Year and we just have to keep going, going, going. No, but
Hmm.
where do we find the pause? And there is
Hmm.
power when it comes to rest,
Hmm.
and
Absolutely.
for this podcast, we're also talking about what rest looks like. And for
Hmm.
me, I turned 40 last year, and I had to define what rest looks like for me,
Hmm.
because it may not look the same for another woman. It may not look the same as my auntie, as my grandmother. So I had to
Hmm.
define what I wanted rest to look like. And I would like for you to let us know, how would you define rest? And you kind of talked about it a little bit, but how would you define it? And why is it important, especially in the Black community?
Yeah, I mean, so I not only am I a black woman, I'm a black mother. I'm also the oldest of, I'm the oldest of both my mother and my father's kids. And so I have watched all the women in my family work until they have become sick, or work or until they have become stressed or tired and unable to pour back into themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So rest is an absolute non-negotiable for me. And um, I would say the way that I define it is exactly what I need for myself. And that can be changing. My rest may look one way in the winter and one way in the summer. It may look a different way if I'm working this job or working that job. It may look different if I am, going through something, like if I'm like possibly grieving or, going through a difficult transition in my life. Rest may look different at any given point in my life. And I think that I'm the only person that can define what rest looks like for me. No one else can say, like, oh, this is how much sleep you need. You need 8 hours of sleep every night. I
Right.
listen to my body, and whatever my body tells me, I try my best not to guilt myself into resting. Especially because it's so important. Like you will find if you do not get enough rest that you will end up being sick a lot more often than you
Mm-hmm.
usually do because your body needs rest to repair. And then just even with like when it comes to like your body repairing, your body being able to digest your food, and then to go into the repair state, you need rest to do all of that. So yeah, no, I feel like rest is defined by whatever I say is defined by when it comes to my body in whatever moment I'm in. And just making sure that I'm present with my body and making sure that that I'm listening to my body and that I'm
Yeah.
not waiting until my body is so tired that I'm on the verge of harming myself.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I loved how you said listening to your body. When I was in my yoga teacher training 2 years ago, and I was very new to the wellness space, but I kept feeling led to join it because one thing that I talked about on my with the other guest speakers is like I was led to go to it. I didn't know this wasn't the path that I chose for myself. You know, when I was a teenager in my early 20s, I never said I was going to be a wellness practitioner, but I am my first student. I am my first client. So when I
Mhm.
realized that I was being, exhausted, drained on a daily basis, I'm like, something has to change, you know? So one thing that my yoga teacher training, they said, listen to your body, honor your body, and
Mhm.
just how you mentioned, rest can look different depending on the season that you're in. It's not going to look the
Mhm.
same, and it may not even look the same next month, 2 months. So it's a matter of knowing when to pause, when to slow down. So
Yeah.
rest is so important. There's power that comes to it because I
Mhm.
know that when I'm a creative also. So when I'm creating something, sometimes I can create something if it's like, a lot of chaos around me, but most times my finished product is when I'm in a state of rest.
Mhm. Yeah.
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 So, how has creativity helped you during your healing and transformation journey? Is it something that you go to when you're in a space of heavy emotions, or is it something that you go to regularly to help you to reset?
Yeah, I am I mean I am a creative at heart. Like not only am I a musician, a singer, and an author, um I often just do like just little crafty things. Like even more recently I just learned how to sew.
Nice.
So like it's a way that I can take my mind off of things, and kind of like quiet the thoughts that are in my brain. And then also, I feel like it's somatic healing because some different forms of art, you can actually use your hands and you can have, like a sensory experience. And
Mm-hmm.
so, um, and then also, I feel like when it comes to art, I have the opportunity to be unapologetic. So I don't have to explain why I'm doing this art. I'm just doing it because I want to do it. And I don't have to monitor it versus like if I am in whether it be a professional space or a space where there are other people around, I may have to monitor what I say or monitor how I act or what I do. And I feel as if art gives you the opportunity to express yourself however you feel,
Mhm.
which I feel like in this society, people don't get to express themselves. And so when you don't get to express yourselves and then you don't get to express the range of emotions that you have, that gets trapped in your body. And then it turns into disease and discomfort. And
Mhm.
so I feel like being a creative is just a safe space to be able to express yourself. And I wish that um, creativity and the arts was a lot more accessible so that everybody could have at least one some type of artistic outlet to where they could get out whatever it is that they're going through.
Mhm. Absolutely. And it definitely is a great way to just have that moment, like you said, a safe space and to express yourself freely. When I think about art, it's just like an expression, to
Hmm.
be free is very liberating, and to create that space for others, which especially I just came out of the classroom not too long ago. I transitioned out of the classroom and I was teaching for over 15 years. And one of the first things that they're giving away of is the art department,
Yeah,
and I'm like, but the kids, our babies need that,
yeah,
yes, we need them to be academically strong, but they also need that creative side also. So
yeah.
I really do encourage people to, find their creative side because last summer I read a book called Sacred Rest,
Mm-hmm.
and creativity is a type of rest. Whenever
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling, down based on my week, I'm like, let me put on a playlist. Let me, write
Mm-hmm.
something, journal something, and it just automatically boosts my spirits back up. So even if you're not an
Mm-hmm.
artist, for those that are listening and watching tonight, like you can still find ways to incorporate creativity when you're speaking, doing a presentation. There's different avenues to create that into your life as well.
Yeah.
So Brittany, the next question that I have for you is, what is an advice that you would give your younger self who just started her journey? Like, think about that time, whether it was in your 20s, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. What advice would you give yourself?
Me personally, I think it's two things. One is to protect my confidence and to protect the unapologetic part of me. I think as a child, I was fearless.
Mm,
And I think throughout life, the things that I experienced caused me to be, um, a little bit more reserved versus when I was a child, I would do any and everything that I felt as far as, creativity was concerned. And I think, like I said, as I got older, I became more reserved because of what people had to say or, people that don't necessarily understand artistic people. Sometimes they want to put you in a box
yeah.
because of their limited beliefs. And so I would just say to protect the confidence and protect my fearlessness at all costs, and don't allow anyone to be able to interrupt that, which is something that I make sure that I do with my son now. So I
Mm-hmm.
make sure that I'm very protective over him and his innocence and what people say to him, and I'm very protective over him understanding that he is who he think he is, and
Yeah.
he can be whatever he wants to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing I would say, as far as me being an artist, is to just be a lot more business savvy. I kind of approached music as like the starving artist. And I
Mm-hmm.
think if I would have had, you know, a more stable professional setting, like even if I had a job or if I were to have become a music teacher or just kind of taken a more professional route, and like because I didn't attend like I attended cosmetology school, so I did hair, and
Okay.
then I've always kind of been in like creative places. But I think as far as artists are concerned, it's really important to put out music on a regular basis as far as developing your musical repertoire, or even if you're a painting artist, you have to buy supplies. And
Mhm.
so when you're waiting for gigs and you're hoping and wishing and waiting around for somebody to hire you, a way that you can make sure that your career is consistently progressing is to like either have a job or
Yeah.
pursue art in a more professional way so that you can make sure that you have consistent income. So
Mhm.
yeah.
I love that advice, both of that advice that you just gave. And, you know, one thing, even for myself, for both of your advices that you gave, I can relate to that because when I was younger, I had a lot of confidence. I was real fearless. But then as life started to get heavy and harder for me and the challenges and the roadblocks that I faced, it's like, okay, where was this confident young Miata and Mia Soul? She
Mhm.
disappeared when she became a young adult, you know? So it's like,
Mhm.
how do I find her again, you know? Or
Mhm.
do I need to find her again and just learn who she's becoming at
Mhm.
an older, you know, version of herself, a more healed version of herself? So I just love that advice that you gave. And also, um, knowing the ins and the outs, you know, because we're all going to be, you know, ever growing, ever evolving. So I love the
Mhm.
advice that you said, you know, learning about, you know, the ins and the outs and finding ways to find consistent income because it can be tough when you're in between gigs. Like, what am I going to do for
Mhm.
income wise? So I love that
Yeah.
advice you gave. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really important.
Yeah.
And so even with our episode title, when we're talking about journey to be you,
Mhm.
can you explain like what does that mean for you? Like journey to be you.
Yeah, I think that it kind of taps into what I was talking about as far as me kind of like losing some of that spunk from my younger self. So I feel like we come here knowing exactly who we are.
Mhm.
And then I feel like society beats that out of us.
Yeah.
And so becoming who I always was and who I knew I was and connecting back with my younger self and also connecting back with my ancestors and who I'm supposed to be. So getting more in alignment with my purpose. And I also think that like on a journey to be you, it's about um, learning to trust your intuition and making sure that all the things in your life that you are in alignment with. I think that some people may live their life exactly how they want to live their life and they
Mhm.
have a plan and they know exactly what they want to do. But for a lot of us, we may get off the path. We may do something that we thought we were supposed to be doing and it didn't pan out. But I think that for me, I have just been kind of on this journey. Like I've always known what I wanted to do. I've always known that my voice was the vehicle for any and everything that I wanted to do. And so, like, I may have things outside of who I am that kind of like collaborate with who I am as a vocalist, a singer, a
Mhm.
musician, but they all kind of it's like the music and me being a singer is the vehicle.
Yeah.
So, like, I have all these gifts, and the singing is the vehicle for that. So it's just been about getting in alignment and learning when to say no, learning when to say yes, learning, like I said, how to trust my own body and know when I'm in a situation that does not feel good to me. And just, I have, as a musician, had to come to terms with a lot of those things. Like even sometimes maybe taking a gig that I didn't want to take, but maybe I needed some money or maybe I needed to do this or whatever. But really learning how to say, no, this isn't in alignment with who I am,
Yeah.
and just getting really, really clear with that and learning how my body feels when I'm in certain situations. Does my body feel good and safe in this
Mhm.
moment, or does it not? And
Mhm.
so I think that over time, when you are being taught that, you know, as a child, in a lot of Black families, you shut up and listen, you speak
Yeah.
when you're spoken to. And so that is a direct attack on me learning my intuition and me learning
Mhm.
what who I am and how I want to stand up for myself. And
Mhm.
so now I'm having to relearn how to advocate for myself, how to say no, how to trust my intuition because my intuition is still there, but sometimes I second guess it and I may be like, I don't know. versus being very sure because I am in practice and I am in alignment and in communion with my intuition. And I'm giving my intuition the opportunity to shine and be like, nope, my body feels like this. So it's a no. But
Mhm.
it's just really about practicing,
Yeah.
practicing being in alignment with myself.
Yes, I love that advice, Brittany, that response. And I can, relate 100% when it comes to just listening to your body when you have to make big decisions, and listening to your intuition, because our intuition is our guide. When something feels off, it's like, even if you don't have the language for or the reasoning why you may feel off about something, but like, how is your body feeling at that moment?
Mhm.
So, and being able to say no and unlearn and relearn different things. I loved how you just said, it's about being in practice,
Mhm.
so relearning yourself and unlearning certain things, definitely. And just like you said, knowing who you were, and returning back to that, because so often, at least for myself, like on my journey, I felt lost, I felt stuck, I felt like confused for years. And it
Mhm.
wasn't until like 39, late 39, almost 40, like my 40th birthday, when it was just like a light bulb that went off, like an awareness, like,
Mhm.
okay, I'm who I'm supposed to be. I don't have to keep trying to figure it out anymore, this path, this unknown
Mhm.
for me anymore, because my path is directed. And
Mhm.
there's so many people I feel like that is in silence and don't
Mhm.
have, the avenues to talk to about it. So I really appreciate the time that you share with us this evening to talk about your journey and the tools.
Mhm.
So we're
Mhm.
going to wrap it up. I wish we had more time to talk, and this has been an amazing
I
time.
have about 10 more minutes.
You do?
Yeah,
Oh,
I got 10
yay!
more
Brittany
minutes.
got 10 more
Okay.
minutes. Okay. All right.
I
Okay.
gotta go pick up my baby.
All right. Well, help me with the time when you're in then. Okay. You can just like
Okay.
give me a
Yeah.
moment to say,
Yeah.
okay, it's time. All right. Um, my next question, I feel like you kind of answered it, but how has your journey inspired your purpose? Because I know that you said that you've kind of already knew what you wanted to do. So how has
Mm.
your journey, has it been like the same from like childhood all the way up to like where you are now, or did some things change your path for you?
Yeah, I think what changed is me knowing how I wanted to do it because I think, as a young person, you have, uh, blueprints. You have people that you watch and see and, study. And so, which is really interesting for people that want to be artists or people in the music industry, because a lot of people in the music industry, unless you are a gospel artist, oftentimes end up being over sexualized.
Mm,
Um, or, just talking about things that are just unsavory and something that was something that I was very convicted about at an early age because I grew up in church. And so, I think I didn't have a blueprint until India.Arie.
mm,
And once I was introduced to India.Arie, I think I was kind of like, I want to do it like that. Like, I want to be an artist like that. That's the type of artist that I want to be like. I love that she still is like in the world and that she is, diverse and that she can reach like a multitude of people,
mhm.
but her message is still clean. It's still, positive. And so that was really important for me. And then I think a lot of the trauma that I experienced informed how I am showing up now. I think me being aware of trauma that I experienced and me being um, like aware of my emotions really started to evolve the way that I wanted to like produce and present my music because I really wanted my music to be a healing balm,
Yeah.
and I wanted it to be something that people could digest easily and that they could play for their whole family, and that it was very um very apparent that this is meant for this. Like, this is meant to
Mhm.
work on this. This is meant to help you navigate this. This is meant to, you know, just heal. And so I think throughout my life, the things that I've experienced and the things the music that I've also consumed and listened to, I kind of found myself feeling like I wish there was this. Like I wish there was some music like this so that I could just play this for this person and give it to them and like it be really accessible.
Mhm.
Because me as a sound healer, I'm only one person. So it's only so many places I can be at one time. And
Right.
obviously I'm, not sought out all over the world yet,
Not yet.
but not yet.
It's coming.
But but yeah, I think that I want what I do to be very accessible. So if
Mhm.
someone felt like I have a friend who just went through this, they just experienced this. Can you give me this music or, like, where can I find your music so I can give this to them because I really
Mhm.
feel like that this would help them. And so that, the journey of, like I said, me going through different things and then wishing that I could have some type of music that would heal me or work for me or help me process things because the way I look at healing, I don't look at healing like, I mean, physically we can heal,
Mhm.
but even when we physically heal, there still may be some remnants of whatever that the scar was.
Yeah.
There are even some remnants of like if you get a major surgery, you have phantom pain in the area where you received the surgery at. So I feel like when I look at healing and when I think about healing, it's a lifelong journey.
Mhm.
And I also feel like it's more of a maintenance thing. It's just like how you take care of a home. If you have a plumbing issue, you don't just oh, let me just run one little thing of hot water down it. You got to dig in there, you got to pull some stuff out. You might have to open
Mhm.
up some pipes, you might have to call a whole plumber to, fix the issue. And I think that depending on what we're going through in life, or depending on what traumatic experience we have faced, the maintenance may be a little bit more severe.
Yeah.
But we should always be looking at it as something that we can maintain. And so when you think about what you consume, you're not about to throw any and everything down your garbage disposal. You're not about to throw no
Mhm.
rocks in your garbage disposal. You're not about to throw no glass in your garbage disposal. So you want to make sure that you have that you're consuming good things, and not
Yeah.
only like physically like your body, so you want to eat healthy, but you also want to consume things on the outside of you, whether it be like your everyday like music or the content that you're watching or the media, the TV, the conversations that you are having. So I just look at healing and just all of that as if it is a journey, and it's something that we just always have to do. We always have to be
Yeah.
mindful of like, oh, like I need to work on this right now, and it just kind of goes from one timeline to the next as far as like what
Mhm.
specifically you have to do. But I feel like I got away from your original question.
No, it's
But
fine because it's
okay.
all coming together what you're saying, you know what I mean? Because it's like we go through different experiences to help us find our purpose,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
10 years ago, I was like, I just want to find my purpose. I want to find my purpose. I thought it was teaching in the classroom, but that was
Mhm.
leading me to my purpose. You know what I mean? But I
Yeah.
really feel like the path I'm on now is my purpose, but it had to
Hmm.
take me all around for me to
Hmm.
get to where I need to be now. You know what I mean? So it's
Hmm.
like all of
Yeah.
the roadblocks, all of the hardships that I encountered on my journey, it's like it served a purpose. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Even though I didn't know it at that time because I had to go through my own healing,
Yeah.
and I loved how
Yeah.
you mentioned like the maintenance of it because
Mhm.
healing is ongoing. When we heal one area of our lives, there's another area that we may need to work on. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's
Yeah.
just like I really resonate with you because like I started journaling because I had nobody to talk to. I never wrote when I was a kid because I had all
Mhm.
my girlfriends, all my cousins and stuff to talk to, but
Mhm.
then they have their own lives, so they weren't really
Yeah.
available for me like I
Mhm.
wanted them to be. So it's
Yeah.
like, all right, but my journaling has been there with me every day that every
Mhm.
time I need it, not necessarily every day.
Mhm.
So my spirit has been telling me literally for the last 5 years since the pandemic's like, when are you going to show up? You
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
because my higher power, God knows who He created me to be, but yet
Mhm.
I'm just like, I don't want to talk about nothing vulnerable.
Yeah.
But He's like, if it has helped me. My writing is going to help others, you know? So even me doing this podcast series was like a faith move, you know, a courage move, because I'm not tech savvy, but then somebody said it's not about being tech savvy. You know, you have a message, other women have a message to share, and I really want to hear their journey when it comes to healing, because even though we're helping to heal ourselves, but there's something so much bigger. And I loved how you mentioned, Brittany, as far as the scars, because I have a poem called Rose Garden. When you see a rose, oh, the rose is so beautiful, but you're just looking at the top. I'm looking at the root. I'm looking at the thorns. You know what I mean, of that rose, because the thorn, if you can make it with having the thorns in our scars, that's what's really beautiful, you know? So even the circumstances you may go through, we have those thorns in our lives, and we want to shake those thorns off, but it's there for a reason. So it's like, okay, what is this journey trying to teach me and learn? And what am I supposed to learn from it? You know, I don't call it mistakes. Sometimes I hear that, well, I made a whole bunch of mistakes when I was younger. It's not necessarily mistakes. I just call it life lessons. And sometimes we have to repeat those life lessons, you know, and sometimes we may get similar situations, but until we find out the root of it, like you said, the maintenance, we may have to go a little bit deeper, you know, to find out what that root is. So that way we can continue on the journey of healing and transformation. And that it's going to be up and down, because for years I felt like, how can I grow? Because I didn't see it physically, you know, I don't see it physically, but inward, I feel it. Like I feel different. The way that I'm handling situations than the younger version of me ought to handle it. It's like, wow, you have grown. Okay. Like, the way I handle that, like, oh yes, I am definitely, you know, a better person, a much better person for that. So I'm grateful for, you know, the journey. And I have another question to ask.
I have about one more minute.
One more minute. Okay.
Or like
one
one
more
more
minute.
question or so.
So where can people find you and connect with you? And do you have any virtual and in-person offerings?
I don't have any virtual personal. I mean, I do have some personal offerings coming up. It's on my social media, but on Valentine's Day, I am performing in Oakland. I don't remember the name of the place. I want to say it's Laguna, and then I'm also doing a workshop at Overhaul in Oakland, California. That is a heart-opening restorative yoga and sound healing experience. And then where people can find me, I'm on Instagram, mostly on Instagram. I also am on TikTok. My TikTok handle is Britzy Tanned Sound Healing. And then my Instagram is just Britzy Tan. And then I also have a website, thesongremedy.com. And then I have a YouTube. I also have a YouTube. I believe it's in the bio of my Instagram.
Okay. All right. And so thank you. Please connect with Brittany, even if you're from out of state. She does have, like she mentioned, her website. And if you're in the Bay Area, check her out for her offerings in person. And I hope to connect with you again in person when I come out to California. I'm going to look you up. So thank you so much, Brittany. And you enjoy the rest of your evening.
You too.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. All right. Peace.